the country where people live in the mountains. Imagine living isolated with several mountains around you and being thousands of meters above sea level. Bolivia is a landlocked country located in South America, bordering Brazil to the east, Paraguay and Argentina to the south, Chile to the southwest, and Peru to the west. Bolivia's capital is Sucre, where the government headquarters are located, although La Paz is the seat of the executive and legislative branches. La Paz is the administrative capital of Bolivia and one of the country's most important cities. Located in western Bolivia, at the bottom of a basin surrounded by mountains, it is known for its natural beauty and unique location at high altitudes. The city of La Paz sits at an impressive altitude of around 3,650 meters above sea level, making it one of the highest capitals in the world. This extremely high altitude can affect visitors who are not accustomed to high altitudes, causing symptoms of altitude sickness such as shortness of breath and dizziness. The high altitude can cause shortness of breath and difficulty breathing, especially for those unaccustomed to high altitudes. It's important to rest and gradually acclimate to the altitude, avoiding excessive physical exertion in the first few days. Due to its altitude, the climate in La Paz tends to be cool and dry for much of the year. Days can be sunny and pleasant, while nights can cool considerably. It's important to be prepared for temperature variations throughout the day. La Paz has a diverse population and is an important cultural, political, economic, and tourist center of Bolivia. Its streets are filled with vibrant markets where visitors can find everything from local produce to traditional crafts. One of La Paz's most famous attractions is the Witches Market, where vendors offer a variety of products related to traditional healing and spirituality. Additionally, the city boasts interesting architecture, including many historic buildings, colonial churches, and museums. It's amazing how people live in the mountains in Bolivia. See the geography of this country. Bolivia's geography is quite diverse, featuring a variety of landscapes ranging from the high mountains of the Andes to the vast plains of the Amazon. The western part of Bolivia is dominated by the Andes mountain range, which runs through the country from south to north. In this region, we find some of Bolivia's highest mountains, including Illimani, standing at approximately 6,438 meters high, and Sajama, the country's highest point, at around 6,542 meters. These mountains offer spectacular landscapes, snow-capped peaks, and active volcanoes. The Bolivian Altiplano is a high plain located between two Andean mountain ranges. With an average altitude of about 3,700 meters, it's one of the highest inhabited areas in the world. The Altiplano is characterized by an arid landscape, salt lakes, such as the Salar de Uyuni, the world's largest salt flat, extinct volcanoes, and a unique flora and fauna adapted to extreme conditions. Among the Andean mountains, we find deep and fertile valleys where many of Bolivia's cities and villages are located, including La Paz and Cochabamba. These areas are important for agriculture and offer a striking contrast to the surrounding mountainous landscapes. In the northern and northeastern part of Bolivia, the landscape transforms into dense tropical forests of the Amazon. This region is characterized by lush vegetation, mighty rivers, such as the Mamoré River and the Beni River, and great biodiversity, including a variety of plant species, animals, and birds. In the southeast, Bolivia shares a portion of the Chaco, a vast dry plain that extends across several South American nations. This area is known for its scrub vegetation, cacti, and arid climate. Bolivia is crossed by many important rivers, such as the Paraná River, the Paraguay River, and the Pilcomayo River. Additionally, there are numerous lakes, both freshwater and saline, that play a crucial role in the country's ecology and economy. Have you ever stopped to think that in school we don't learn about the history of countries in South and Central America? Well, stick with me in this video, as we're going to understand the rich history of Bolivia. Before the arrival of the Spanish, Bolivia was inhabited by various indigenous cultures, including the Tiwanaku and the Incas. The Tiwanaku civilization, which flourished between the 6th and 9th centuries, left a significant legacy of architecture and agricultural development. With the arrival of the Incas in the 15th century, the region became part of the vast Inca Empire. Spanish colonization began in the 16th century, led by explorers such as Diego de Almagro and Pedro de Anzures. In 1545, the discovery of silver in Cerro Rico in Potosí led to a gold and silver rush, making Bolivia one of the richest Spanish colonies. During the colonial period, Bolivia was part of the Viceroyalty of Peru, until the Viceroyalty of the Rio de la Plata was created in 1776, with its capital in Buenos Aires. The movement for Bolivia's independence began in the early 19th century, influenced by uprisings in other South American colonies. In 1809, the first cry of independence occurred in Sucre, followed by other revolts across the country. country. However, independence was not achieved until 1825, when Simón Bolívar led the country's liberation, which was then named in his honor. After independence, Bolivia faced decades of political instability, with military coups and civil wars being common occurrences. Bolivia suffered several significant territorial losses, including the loss of its access to the sea to Chile in the War of the Pacific, 1879-1884, which remains an unresolved geopolitical issue. The 20th century saw a continuous pattern of political instability, with interim governments, military dictatorships, and periods of fragile democracy. One very interesting issue involving Brazil and Bolivia is the state of Acre. For years, part of Acre was the subject of conflicts between Brazil and Bolivia. Let's understand the context. The territorial dispute between Brazil and Bolivia over Acre dates back to the late 19th and early 20th centuries and is known as the Acre Question. Acre, a region rich in rubber located on the border between Brazil and Bolivia, attracted the attention of settlers, traders, and investors from around the world due to the growing demand for rubber in the international market. By the late 19th century, rubber extraction in the region was booming, attracting Brazilian migrants and investors who began establishing settlements in the area. However, the region was under Bolivian control, according to treaties and agreements established during the colonial period. The growing presence of Brazilians in the Acre region led to a series of conflicts between Brazilian settlers and Bolivian authorities. In 1899, a revolt known as the Acrean Revolution was led by Brazilian Luís Galvez Rodrigues de Arias, who proclaimed Acre's independence from Bolivia. This revolt was followed by a series of armed conflicts between rebel forces and Bolivian authorities. The chaotic situation in Acre attracted the attention of international powers of the time, including the United States and England, interested in the rubber trade. Under international mediation, Brazil agreed to pay compensation to Bolivia in exchange for recognition of Brazilian possession of Acre. The conflict was finally resolved with the signing of the Treaty of Petrópolis in 1903, by which Brazil officially acquired Acre from Bolivia in exchange for financial compensation. The treaty also defined the border between Brazil and Bolivia in the Acre region, establishing Brazil's definitive possession of the territory. In the late 20th century, Bolivia underwent significant changes with the rise of indigenous social movements and the election of Evo Morales, the country's first indigenous president, in 2006. The recent history of Bolivia is marked by debates on issues such as the exploitation of natural resources, regional autonomy, and indigenous rights. Despite historical and contemporary challenges, Bolivia is a country with a rich and diverse culture, with a population proud of its indigenous roots and a history that continues to influence its political, social, and economic development. If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and also share this video with anyone you think might be interested. By doing so, you'll help me bring more documentaries like this one every week. Continuing on, let's talk about the lifestyle of Bolivians. Many Bolivians live in rural areas where they are involved in subsistence agriculture, cultivating crops such as corn, potatoes, quinoa, and coca. Life in these communities is often marked by a simple lifestyle, with homes built from local materials, limited access to basic services, and a strong connection to the land and cultural traditions. Bolivia has a significant population of indigenous peoples, such as the Quechua, Aymara, Guarani, and others, who live in traditional communities in both rural and urban areas. These communities often preserve ancient cultural traditions, including languages, agricultural practices, and religious rituals. However, in major Bolivian cities like La Paz, Santa Cruz de la Sierra, Cochabamba, and others, people typically live in apartments, houses, or housing complexes. Urban life is characterized by formal employment, education, access to basic services such as water, electricity, and sanitation, as well as a variety of leisure options such as restaurants, cinemas, and shopping malls. Bolivia, a country with majestic mountain landscapes, lush forests, and a rich culture, has a developing economy that faces constantly changing challenges and opportunities. Bolivia possesses great wealth in natural resources such as natural gas, oil, minerals, lithium, zinc, copper, gold, and timber. Natural gas is the country's main export product, accounting for a large portion of government revenue. Agriculture and livestock are important sectors of the Bolivian economy, with significant production of soybeans, corn, rice, beef, and chicken. The country is self-sufficient in basic foods and exports some agricultural products. The Bolivian industry is still underdeveloped, but has been growing in recent years. The main manufactured products include textiles, processed foods, beverages, chemicals, and building materials. Tourism is a growing sector in Bolivia, driven by the country's natural beauty, archaeological sites, and vibrant culture. Tourism generates income and jobs, especially in rural areas. However, Bolivia is one of the poorest countries in Latin America, with high rates of poverty and social inequality. Extreme poverty affects about 36% of the population. The Bolivian economy is highly dependent on natural resource exploitation, making it vulnerable to fluctuations in international prices. Bolivia's infrastructure needs to be improved, especially in areas such as transportation, energy, and telecommunications. Bolivia's domestic market is small, limiting the growth of domestic businesses. Investment in infrastructure is essential for the growth of the Bolivian economy. Improving roads, ports, airports, and energy generation can attract investments and facilitate trade. Bolivia can benefit from regional integration with its neighboring countries. This can increase trade and investment, as well as promote the development of joint infrastructure projects. Bolivia's economy has a promising future, but faces significant challenges. The Bolivian government needs to implement public policies that promote economic diversification, investment in infrastructure, poverty reduction, and regional integration. If you're interested in Bolivia and considering visiting or living there, pay attention to the prices of some basic items. The monthly cost of food varies between $50 and $65, considering a modest lifestyle, eating at home. If you prefer to eat out and buy more sophisticated foods, the monthly food cost rises to $80 per month. The cost of a restaurant meal per person ranges between $3 and $4. You'll notice that the cost of food in Bolivia is quite cheap compared to the United States. This is because our currency is valued against the Bolivian peso. $1 equals almost 7 Bolivian pesos. The cost of rent is also very affordable compared to the United States. In more remote areas, rental prices can range from $80 to $160 per month. In central areas, rents range from $200 to $300 per month. The cost of accommodations is also very inexpensive. There are accommodations in La Paz starting from $20, and the best ones don't even reach $200 per night. Now let me tell you an interesting fact. There is a land route between Brazil and Peru operated by the Transacriana Company. The route is over 6,000 kilometers long, and if you want to venture until you reach Bolivia, this route is a good option. If you want to go directly to Bolivia, there is the option of traveling by train from Mato Grosso. Well, Bolivia is a truly incredible neighboring country with extraordinary and breathtaking landscapes. The lifestyle of Bolivians is quite intriguing. Surely, you would be enchanted in this country. What do you think about visiting or perhaps living in Bolivia? Would you go? Would you take advantage of everything Bolivia has to offer? Comment below. Until the next video.